Okay, we're back for the highly anticipated part 3 of the rugged landscape. Now I'm going to go back into the sky and start adding a second layer. I'm going to add some mist across the mountains, all kinds of stuff. Actually, I'm going to do not mist, but clouds. This time I am switching to titanium white. Before I was using zinc white. So I'm going into titanium white, some neutral gray, touch of dioxazine purple. Now I want to put some clouds coming right over the top of this mountain, behind this mountain, kind of between them. See, that ain't gonna seem right because that mountain is behind that mountain. I can almost put that mountain in front of that mountain if I want, but I don't know if I want to. Let's just do it like this. I can come right over that tree. That's just, I can put that back in here later. Put some nice clouds and things happening down in here. Give it a real dramatic effect. Some misty effects happening back here behind the trees and stuff. See, now we can separate that hill from this little slope here from the one behind it. Isn't that cool? Adding a little bit more white right here. I can vary the mixture. Okay, that's looking pretty cool. Now I'm going to go into some cerulean blue with that dioxazine purple. Might want to darken like a couple of these corners up a little bit. As I come down, I'm going to add some turquoise into that. As it comes down, it should get lighter in color. Working back and forth in between them tree branches. I can put some sky holes in there. Negative space. Negative space is your friend. See, I can cut in right there, put a couple more sky holes. Looks like that brighter sky is just kind of peeking through there. Just really neat. Leaving these strokes nice and choppy. I kind of like I don't know, a realistic look mixed with a impressionistic look, I guess. You can decide for yourself how far you want to lean one way or the other. I'll put another brighter cloud up in here. Especially when it comes to the sky, I like more of an impressionistic kind of sky look there. That's just me. You can blend it or leave it as choppy as you want to. Cut in around them mountains there. You don't have to have a small brush either. I'm using a fairly good sized brush, probably a 1/2 inch wide, number 10 flat brush. There we go. That gives it a lot more of a dramatic flair, I guess you'd say. Now we're going to come back in and we're going to punch up them mountains a little bit. Uh, and I almost think them mountains are coming a little bit too far forward, so I'm going to knock back that brown on them. And I also want some snow on them too. So I'm going into neutral gray and dioxazine purple. We'll see what we can do here. I'm going to leave them brown, hints of that brown showing through that I had on there before.
What's that?
The cats. My wife is asking me what that noise was downstairs. It is our cats being ornery. Not yet. All right, and then cerulean blue. Back in the shadow of it. Set them mountains back a little bit further. There, that's a lot softer, kind of nicer look right there, I think. A lot more dramatic with the clouds. I'm digging it now. I'm going to add that cerulean blue with dioxazine purple because this mountain right here is going to be a tad bit darker because it's in front of these. Just kind of let it fade out as it goes down. And over this direction too. Okay, I want some snow cap on these mountains. Using pure titanium white, just kind of dabbing it on there, leaving it on thick. Kind of don't like that rounded shape right there, so we'll fix that a little bit. So you drag that down in them clouds. It makes those clouds appear like you can see through them, like you know, portions of clouds, you can see through them in nature. So things to think about. All right, back in the shadows. Want what appears to be like shadowed snow back there. It also helps me with the edges. Drag some of that down into the clouds. Just kind of playing back and forth with the cloud and the cliff there. There we go. It's a real nice, dramatic. Watch this hard edge here. I don't want hard edges really. Nice, dramatic mountain. Go back in with larger brush and kind of play that cloud up just a little bit more again. Boy, that looks cool. I like that. Okay, let's add some snow to this peak. Let's kind of bring it alive a little bit. I'm kind of going on side to side because these mountains have layers to them that snow just kind of sits on. I'm using a reference photo, and I'm not copying the reference photo exactly, but I am kind of using it for ideas of how I want to make my peaks and everything look here. There we go. That is a much more effective mountain now that we got the next layer in, isn't it? Just beautiful. Okay. Now I got to switch reference photos here because I'm using several. Oop, wrong one. If I can find which one I was using. There it is. Okay, I got this winding river coming down through here. I kind of want to punch it up a little bit more. Basically using this number 10 flat and just kind of going back and forth, cutting in, pulling down. Back and forth, back and forth. All right, now down in here, you know, in my mind, the light's going to come and hit back there. Then when you get down in here, it's probably not going to be as bright. So I'm going to add some cerulean blue to that, darken it up a little bit. Now these reflections I did the other day, I want to let them show through. And then when you get down in here, you might have a little bit more light peeking through. So I'll put some more light in here. That and rapids and all kinds of stuff happening. And just go right over some of this underpainting you did, because we're gonna come back in and touch that up. That we're just using that as kind of place filler to know where I was gonna keep everything in the painting. So see how these strokes, they're lighter, so they go over the top of them reflections, and it looks like, you know, water running over the top of it and moving back and forth, and very effective way to do it. Keep these strokes somewhat, you know, level with your painting though, or else it's going to look weird. See any places where you're kind of doing a pattern, you might want to break it up a little bit so it looks more natural as you're going. Switch the colors back and forth, you know. I like having different colors down in my water just to make it look more effective. Putting some turquoise down in here, the white, titanium white, that is, cerulean, even some of that purple if you want to. Kind of keep the white tone down though, because at the end of it I'm going to put sparkles on that water, and I want that to be, you know, fairly bright. All right, now that I got all that on there, I'm going to wipe this brush off. Actually, I'm going to take a brand new brush, clean, dry brush, and I'm going to go just kind of swipe across it, just kind of smooth it down, soften it up a little bit. There we go. Got the water toned down a little bit. All right, now, let's see, I want to get some Prussian blue out on the palette here. Let's go ahead and get some raw umber out here too. Some of these layers I want to go back in here and darken them back up. Bring them forward a little bit. So I'm going to use an angled brush. This is I don't know if I can read it, a number 3 angled brush. I'm going to take Prussian blue, cadmium yellow light. I'm going to make my own green, mix them together, make my own green. Add a little bit of white to that to brighten it up a little. That might be too bright. Okay. These closer trees, I want to go in here and add a little bit of green to them. My light's coming from this way. So just to the top, because this is all going to be down in shadow down in here because the light's coming in at a flatter angle, kind of like it's either morning or evening, setting or rising from that direction. So as you go down, get darker. But you can, get some highlights in there. So it just doesn't look so flat and dead. Looks like stuff happening in there. Don't completely fill it in. Remember your negative space. Leave the negative space. Okay. That's going to be kind of covered up anyway by that branch. Makes it look like things happening back in there. Now I'll go over here and do the same on this side on a few of them. Just really quickly, I'm just hinting at some shapes and forms that might be happening with them trees in there. Where the light might be hitting them. See how that kind of brings that alive now. All right, now I also want to go back in with some dark and darken the back side of them up a little bit. Phthalo blue, raw umber. Remember your negative space. Let that sky show through that. It gives it form. Makes it look a lot more exciting. Okay, then you got some of these dead trees sticking up here with no foliage on them. Little details like that kind of set your scene apart. We have a few, these are pine trees, so these branches basically kind of stick, you know, out to the side like that on a lot of them. Do that every once in a while. Darken that up. That's looking pretty good there. Okay, I got to step back and look at this. Make sure I'm going in the right direction. Remember to step back and look at your painting every once in a while. It's better to look at it from afar. Average viewing distance, if I remember right, is about 7 feet. So that's about where you want to step back and look at your painting, probably. Looking pretty good. Now, one thing I'm noticing is when I step back and look at it, is I don't want my peak, the mountain peaks, to get like too redundant. So I think I'm going to change the shape a little bit on this one. So let's make that more rounded a little bit. There we go. So we got a different shape on that one. I'm trying to figure out if I think that's too redundant there. Let me get back and look at it again. Might not be too bad. I might have to chew on that a little while. In fact, let's just take this part right here out. I think that will actually make it look better and put all that into shadow. That peak there was kind of bothering me for some reason. Have it be more of a bump than a peak. The mountain's got a bump in it. All right, let's step back and look at it again. I think I like that a little bit better. All right, we're going to go with it. We are going to go with it. I say I'm going to go with it, and then I sit here and I change it again because it's just the way I am. Just bring that together, kind of like it's almost like a glacier or something up there. There, that looks kind of cool. Maybe that's what we want. Who knows? All right, let's go with it for right now, and if I don't like it, I can change it later. Kind of don't like how that's kind of a solid cutoff right there. There we go. All right. Onward and upward. Okay, let's work on this area in here. Now, I'm going to start adding some other color besides just green in there. Maybe it's going to be, early fall or something, where things are starting to change. So we're going to introduce some reds and some fall foliage in those weeds and grassy areas there. And I have this dagger brush that's just beat up. See the end of that? So I'm going to take some alizarin crimson, mix it with that yellow, cad yellow light. Get a little bit of an orange color, maybe towards the red side. And I just want to go in here and like add some titanium white to that to get it to pop out a little. Get some foliage in there like that. That's looking pretty good. I'm gonna get some transparent yellow oxide in on this party also. Now let's try one that's kind of more to the yellow side, see what happens. To the cad yellow side. That's nice. I like to go back and forth with them. Have some variety in there. Move the brush in different, I mean, here you might have some grassy type things. Here you might have some more seed pod looking things on there. Who knows? Take one of these big flat brushes and throw some crap in there too. Different brushes, different motions. Keep it fresh. Coming out here into the pull down on some of it like that. Let that underpainting show through. that red and that green and all that, that plays good together, complementary colors. All right, I'm going to take some of that raw umber with my gray, and let's see, here and there, maybe you can see some of those, see some of them dead trees sticking up or something, you know, here and there. Now this is in the shadows, so you don't want it to be completely white or anything like that. Got a couple of them leaning over or something. All kinds of stuff happening. Beautiful. That's starting to get beautiful now. Now we're cooking with oil. Cooking with oil. All right. Put a few rock shapes out in there. These are far off, so you're not going to be able to see what's going on with them. Neutral gray, you might be able to, you know, see highlight on just a few of them, not just kind of touch it here and there. Just kind of scumbling it in. Scumbling. All right. Beautiful. Very beautiful. These rocks over here, you're not going to be able to see as well, so kind of darken them up a little bit. But I'm just going to put the hint of some land and stuff on that bank over there. I put a little highlight on them with that neutral gray. Kind of let that fade back into the background there. All right, let's step back. Let's step back and see how that looks. Okay, now I think we're getting somewhere. Looking beautiful. All right. I think we're going to end this session right here. When we come back, I'm going to start using the warmer colors, and we'll bring this painting alive in the foreground. You can watch as I set the foreground in front of all this. Till next time, Paine out. Christ is King, Paine is out.